Hi, folks. My name is Girish, the host for Back to Basics. We are going to be talking about motherhood, and we are celebrating motherhood for all the ladies for season one. Yes, this is a Mother's Day special for Back to Basics, second year in a row, and hopefully you'll have a chance to listen to the other episode that I did in season one. And we celebrated five ladies, and we had one guest and four other friends and family, including my wife, on there. So hopefully you guys can listen to that and support all the stuff that I'm doing so far. So today is very different, right? We have five ladies that we have on the show, and one of them is still running late. So we'll see that if she comes in and how that works out. But in the meantime, we're going to celebrate all the ladies that we have today. And we're going to bring one by one, and we're just going to chit chat about motherhood, of how they handle their entrepreneurship, including motherhood, and what they do. It's a crazy life. So we need to salute them and celebrate their life too at the same time. So let's bring all the ladies here. We have Kalpana, who is on the middle there, Kalpana Rao, and she came on my show, season one, episode 96, and she's a movie actress. She's a motivational speaker. Varija Bajaj, who is a fashion designer, episode 92, if I'm not mistaken, and we talked about her struggles and her successes also at the same time. Kat is another person who I interviewed, episode 112, if I'm not mistaken, and she's a veteran. So we celebrated that. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Kat, don't put me wrong, I think it's Sisters in Services, I think. So we'll get into that. And Miss Samara, that's another person that I speak with almost every day, and she was in episode 75, and we talked about her craziness world, and then we're going to talk about that today. So thank you all for coming on Back to Basics and celebrating Mother's Day. So before we start, um, there is one guest that who was supposed to be here earlier today, and she called me last night and she says, Girish, I'm sorry I could not make it. Her name is Julie. So if you don't mind, guys, I just want to play one quick video of what she mentioned, and I think it was more of, she says, you better play it, otherwise I'll kill you. So here's the video for that. Hopefully this should work. I don't know if you guys can hear it. Can you hear it?
Hey, little mamas. I am so honored to be a part of this group of moms who are doing things just a little bit better than everybody else. It is so important that we lock arms and then we become advocates of each other, because a lot of us, we are in the thick of it, of raising our kids, number one, and also living out our dreams. I want to thank Girish for inviting me to be on this episode of Back to Basics. First of all, Girish is such a warm-hearted, genuine individual, and he is giving us the platform to celebrate each other. I am so sorry that I can't be there with you all amazing women, because truthfully, we need to lock arms. We need to lift each other up, because it gets hard. When we're in the thick of it, you get mom, 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 I need this, I need that. And it never ends. And I know all of us, we prioritize our children, but we're also human beings and we need to take care of ourselves and each other. Thank you, Girish, for this honor, for asking me to be on Back to Basics, the Mother's Day special. I appreciate it. I'm going to miss you all. Remember, through all of this, everything we're going through, it's time to get back to basics. Now, be nice to Girish, guys. Thank you.
So thank you again, Julie, for that. And she was supposed to be here today, but she had some other things. But thank you again. And it was a great video that she sent last night. I don't know, I had a little tear when she sent it, because it was so much of love and so much of gratitude that she's given me. So guys, thank you again for coming on Back to Basics for Mother's Day special. And I know that I usually ask this question in the beginning of the episode, but today is going to be a little different, because I usually ask all my guests that, what does Back to Basic mean to you? But we already know the answers from you guys from that episode. But today, I'm going to ask you a different question. The question is, what does Back to Basic mean to you in motherhood? And that's what we're going to be asking today. So if you don't mind, we'll go with Kalpana first, and we'll just go down the table, down the road there. So go ahead, Kalpana. Thank you.
Yeah, hi. Um, well, as a working mother, honestly, I didn't find time to be there with my children all the time. So, like she was just now saying, the child is calling out, mom, mom, mom. I was there very rarely for them. I that actually helped me to become more a friend to my children rather than a mom. And now when my children need, I try a lot to be there for them. And actually, I find that they are appreciating more these days. So for me, going back to basics is being for them today, where I'm there not just as a mom, but I'm as a friend with whom they can speak anything and everything. So back to basics is really awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Kalpana, for that. Varija, I think you're next. Thank you so much for being here. What are your thoughts on today's question?
I think I'll resonate with most other people. And first of all, thank you, Girish, to even bring us together. It's a different feeling because I never thought that there is an option, uh, but to balance the two, which is work and home and kids. And uh, does it even require a conversation? I never thought so. I never came on a platform where I spoke about it as a struggle. I mean, there's no other choice. And coming to back to basics, I think from the mother's point of view, it's a lot of patience. And but for the kids, I think I'll talk from the educational point of view, something that I really put in efforts, because I feel whatever that I studied during my education and multiple educations is something which has become so irrelevant today. And I think that is, my kids are young, they're 6 and 10 years old. And the way things have changed over the last 2 years around the world, I think that education, whatever that they're learning today, might just not be relevant tomorrow by the time they're actually applying those skills. So life has actually gone back to basics in the sense of learning the basic life skills, how to survive, how to maneuver your way through things that you don't know, trying to find answers rather than having the ready answers. So that is learning life, how to live life through the basics. I think that is what I've been focusing on with my children.
Yeah, thank you so much, Varija. After all the stuff that you have done, I salute you for what you have done so far. Actually, all of you, because I know everyone's story. So it's great, and where you're doing right now. So thank you again, Varija. Kat, what is your next in line? So you tell me, what are your thoughts on today's question?
Thank you, Girish, for inviting me, number one. And I think I was in the military as a single parent. And so I didn't have time to think about basics, to be honest with you. But when I think about getting back to basics, I think about my patience. I think about laughing. I think about playing, those things that I did with my child as he was growing as I was growing, because we grow as a parent. And so remember those things, you know, now, but remember those things as a single parent, that the things that were happening, I didn't have to take out on my son, that he was just an innocent. So remembering to be patient, remember to play, remembering to laugh. And he would bring me back to that all the time. So thank you for that question.
Yeah, thank you again, Kat, for answering that question and being here and supporting me too. So thank you again, Samara. You're last, so you tell me what is your answer to this question today?
So the interesting thing is that I have to go back to basics every couple of months or years because we've moved so many times, and every time we move, we're starting over. So I'm starting over for myself and for my business, but I'm starting over for my children as well. And in a 21-year marriage, it was also for my spouse, for my husband. So it's really a matter of, when I say go back to basics, it's new home, new friends, new neighbors, living closer, further away from any family. having new schools, new activities, learning new. When we moved from US to Canada, back to US, I didn't realize how different US to Canada. I mean, I can drive right through the border. There can't be that much different, right? Everything was different. Everything. I mean, to the point where I couldn't tell if it was sour cream, cottage cheese, or yogurt because it was all in French. And so it was a matter of just kind of learning the differences. And in many cases, for us, even in living in Vancouver, it was a lot of Mandarin and Cantonese and French. And so trying to adjust to that and helping the kids and guide them so that they feel comfortable, but also having a daughter who's a mini me. It's scary, I know. She's 12, and then a son who is 18. But, being on the spectrum, things are a little bit different for him. And so making sure that the teachers understand, and then making sure that he has the friends. And thank God I have pretty resilient children because we have lived in a lot of cities and we have done a lot of adjusting and packing and unpacking. So sometimes for me, it's finding the ice cream scooper.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. I think you're right. So thank you again, Samara. And I know your story of what you're going through right now. So thank you again. It is not easy being a mother. I'll tell you that. It's not easy being a father either. And I'm a father, right? So it is very tough to balance out work-life balance. So I salute you all of whatever you guys are doing. Let me ask you a two-part question to everyone. Okay. What is one thing that you think that you have learned from your mom, and what is that one thing that you think that your kids are going to be learning from you? And I'm going to start with Samara first.
Well, that was an unfair advantage because that was two questions I have to think about.
Go ahead.
Okay, I got
it. That's why I asked you.
And I apologize. I never use virtual backgrounds, but I was like, oh, this is my first time using StreamYard. Let's check out the virtual background. That was a big mistake. I learned that just now because I never use virtual backgrounds. So
I'm like piano if you want.
Well, I'm going to go play the piano. Oh, it's over here.
The other way, yeah.
Okay. So one thing, I'm an event planner. So because I'm an event planner, I know that this is going to sound a little silly, but one of the things my mom taught me is it's all about presentation.
Okay.
Here's what I'm talking about. So it's all about presentation. And one thing I learned is if it's boxed, canned, or frozen, if it was made in the home, it's homemade. So sometimes you just have to order pizza or throw a DiGiorno in the oven. You can, but I am not. I chose to be that perfectionist that I am when it comes to putting meals on the table, or, I have OCD, and type A personality, which is very dangerous, right? So putting the food, it's the way you present the food. I'm a big entertainer. So sometimes you got to mix up homemade and something that wasn't homemade, something that was Costco, and just make it look good. And so that was something I learned from my mom because we're big entertainers. And then was the next question something I learned from my children or taught my children?
Taught your children.
So one thing I taught my children is to me, it's important that they're resilient. I'm actually was named Little Bamboo by my coach Ron Tunick. And he named me that because I've overcome a lot of things. And I have, bamboo is actually one of the hardest plants to break. So it bends, but it's very hard to break. And so I'm Little Bamboo because I've overcome so many things and adversity and things have been thrown my way. So I've taught my kids, to kind of do it and then just move on. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to happen. Friends are going to be, your best friends one day, and then maybe your frenemy the next day. And just because, they're younger now, they're in middle school and high school. So your best friends now, it doesn't mean you're going to be your best friends as an adult. And the truth is that the things that happen to you, that drama triangle and all the things going on with you in school right now, it doesn't change when you get older. So just realize that's just life.
Yeah, thank you again, Kat. What are your thoughts on the two-part question that we have today?
Great question, Girish. I think for my mother, she was a military spouse because my dad was in the military and my mother did not work. And I would always see her having to account for the money to my dad and always asking my father for money. And I swore up and down that when I got older, I was not going to ask any man, sorry, Girish, for money ever. And I kept that promise. And I think what I taught my son is being flexible. You know, sometimes when things are really bad in the moment, all you have to do is just stop and breathe because it's going to pass. And, you know, nothing makes you flexible by like being a single parent in the military. You have to be really flexible. And so he saw me being flexible. And so now when things, you know, he's in a certain situation, he knows to breathe and look at what he has in front of him and know that it's not going to be forever. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you again. No, I didn't take anything personally, so I'm okay with that. But thank you again, Kat, for explaining that. Varija, what are your thoughts on today's question? Second question.
Well, I think it'll be difficult to sum it in two, but two things that come to my mind with my mom. I think one is humility. Whatever that you have achieved, I think she's never had that sense of arrogance. You know, there are few things that bring you that arrogance, be it education. You know, when you're over educated or you're a Harvard pass out, you know, you have a different kind of arrogance. Or maybe you are well famed, you possess a lot of money, or you are at a certain stature of the society. So all these things bring in a lot of arrogance. I think that is something that I've learned from her, that there's someone always better than you. So I think that has kept me grounded, and that's what I try to do that with my children. uh, because I think to a certain extent, with what I have achieved, they tend to start relating, and there's a certain sense of arrogance that, you know, that sort of creeps in terms of, okay, we possess this, but what is self-earned is self-earned. So that is something that I try to keep grilling them with. And the other thing that I learned from her is a certain sense of nirvana, or detachment. So if you have it, splurge. If you don't be dependent on it. So your happiness is not dependent on what you possess. It is intrinsic, and you have total control over it. So I still remember during college days, and you know how even to buy a Cadbury, I would think twice, because I didn't want to go back to my mom to, ask for additional pocket money, because that's all that I had. So I think that over a period of time, if I have it, I splurge. If I don't have it, I don't think it really affects me either. So that is again another thing. It is tough, but I'm trying to get that to my children.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. You're doing a great job, by the way, after what I've seen and what I've heard from you and what you're doing. So thank you again for that. Kalpana, ma'am, what are your thoughts on today's question? Second question.
Yeah. So from my mom, I've learned two things. One is the spirituality. So I'm a very spiritual person. That is something which I picked up from her. And another thing which I, picked up from my mom was, now I'm from the era in India when children, especially girls, were not allowed to make their own choices. But at my those days, my mom, she stood by most of my choices. And whether she agreed or she didn't agree, she was like, it's your choice. If things go wrong, I'm still going to be there for you. I'm going to be right here for you. So don't think that just because you're taking your own decision, you will be left alone, which is exactly we used to see in other families where if the girl took a decision on her own, then the entire family sort of banned her and, nobody would connect with her. All those kind of things used to happen, especially during my days. So what I have passed on to my children is two things. One is this, that it is their life, it is their decision to take. whatever they want to take, I will stand by them. I will guide them when they ask for guidance. I will not interfere in their lives. But when they want, I'm there. And come what may, I'm going to be there for them and I will not judge them for the decision that they are taking. And the other thing which I have taught my children, and I hope it's a pass down to them, is to, know that this day too shall pass. Like, as you know, I have gone through a terrible time in my life. My journey has been more of downs than ups. But I have always been like, you know, always bouncing back. Now, I'll just slide this thing, I'll put over here. One bank manager, when I had gone to him, he had, called me a cockroach. Okay. He had told me, it's like, there is sugar over here. So, like a cockroach, you've come over here. And initially, I felt bad. Even my children felt bad. But then later on, I thought about it. I went and did a little Google search on a cockroach. And I realized that you cannot kill a cockroach easily. You just keep on whamming it, whamming it, whamming it. It does not die. This is what I told my children. I said, come what may, how many your knocks life gives you, you have to get back up because that is there in you. So that comes from you. It does not come from anywhere outside. So this is from me. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you again, Kalpana. All the struggles that you have gone through, all the struggles that Varija has gone through, and Kat and Samara, that is one of the reasons why I brought you into my show to tell people that the way you guys are successfully today, there are some few hurdles. So there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. And thank you all for doing what you're doing. And, I'm very, very grateful and very humbled from all you guys are supporting me from day one of what nonsense what I have started. And now it's not even a nonsense, it's more of a mission. So thank you again for being here. A little fun question, if you don't mind. When we have holidays, when we have Christmas and Diwalis, okay, there are certain movies that we want to watch. Okay, what is that first movie that you think comes in your mind, or what you have watched when it comes to Mother's Day? And let's go with Varija first. Did I put you on the spot? I think I put you on the spot.
No, no. I think one movie, if I were to talk, is Tare Zameen Pe. And how as a so it's Tiska Chopra who's handling a child who has ADHD, and she doesn't know that her child has ADHD, and that constant conflict. I think whether we have a child with special needs or not, I think every mother is constantly at an edge, trying to figure out the right answers. And there are no right answers to the best upbringing. And we try our level best, but I think every mother, I don't think I have ever come across any mother who says that I'm a perfect mother. Every mother feels that she's short of, that best upbringing. So I think that film is just about that. The mother is trying to do her level best, trying to figure out what's best for her child. Genuinely sitting on the other side of the fence, we know that she doesn't have the right answers, but she's trying her level best. And I think that's how I relate to her a lot.
Yeah, thank you. And don't ask me how or why, but I kind of had an idea that you were going to say that movie.
Why so?
I'm not sure. We'll talk offline, but I had a feeling that was a movie that you were going to say. So we'll take that offline as to why I say that. Samara, let's go with you, please, if you don't mind.
So I'm not sure what's going on my video cam.
Well, changing your location. I mean, that's the main thing.
No, I'm just still here. I'm moving. I'm moving as we speak, packing and unpacking boxes.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know why the first movie that came in mind was Monster-in-Law, but I cannot use that. teaching my kids what not to marry into. It's so funny because I watch a lot of movies with my daughter, and then with my son, we're all like Marvel, DC Comics. So the fun, interesting thing about Disney movies is that we kind of make a thing here, but they're always killing the parents off. if you notice with the Disney movies. So, it's like, why do they always it's always like a tragic parental death that gets them teaches them how to be resilient and strong. So I have to say the Disney movies, without giving you one, I mean, Inside Out was a big one for us because they moved, and the daughter was a hockey player, and they had moved, and we had just moved to Canada from Houston, Texas, and it was all about hockey and moving and starting over and having no friends, and we didn't know that's what the movie was about, and we all went to see it in Vancouver, and we were bawling because it was about everything we were going through, everything, missing your best friends, going through all this stuff. And when you have a son especially who hates any change at all, what's different for dinner, let alone moving cities. Kat can relate. We were military. My husband was a submarine naval officer and an expat for oil, gas, construction. So that's why we moved so much. We lived in 11 US cities and a Canadian province. So that movie really did resonate with us. I know it's not all about a mom, but yeah. And I'm so sorry. I have no idea why I'm doing this little thing, but at least you can hear me.
No, of course. And the thing is, don't feel bad, because I know you're saying about Marvels and the parents, dying or whatever. Don't feel bad. We're ahead of the game. India is totally ahead of the game. We back in the 70s and 80s, if I'm not mistaken, mostly all the fathers are dead and moms are alive. So they always kill somebody. It's like one or the other, or they are lost somewhere in some mela or some shit like that. So it's, believe me, we're ahead of the game. By the way, just an FYI.
We are.
Kalpana, let's go with you, if you don't mind.
And one small correction here. So Tare Zameen Pe was about the dyslexic kid.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead.
So the one movie which I would say has an impact on me, or even as what I look up to as a mother, is very funnily, it is Ellen Brockovich. Okay.
Yeah.
She is fighting against the world, fighting for the people. At the same time, she's trying hard to get things right for her children, and she's sacrificing a lot. So it's like that movie really had a wonderful impact on me. And so since I know it's a real story, so I really felt that somewhere I feel like that. There are so many things that I want to do all the time. I want to be there for my children. I am there for my children, but I'm not there all the time for my children. But yet, so that balance which she's done, and yet she's been wanting to do good. That is something which had a very great impact on me, and I really loved the movie. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, that's true. Because you know what? If you think about it, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and someone can correct me, she was not a college graduate either, right? And she was I think, high school dropout, I think. And I think she was learning as she going, and she learned, and the struggles of the motherhood, and the struggles of the law, and everything else. So yeah, I totally agree with that. So thank you again, Kalpana. Kat, what are your thoughts?
Okay, I'm going to go in a totally different direction with this. The movie that I would watch was Aliens, because of the heroine in the movie. So if you remember, her badassery came out after she found that child. She faced her fears. She did everything in her power to protect that child, including facing an alien. So when there were times when I was feeling like I couldn't get it done, I wasn't getting it done, I was failing miserably, I would watch that movie and go, you know what? I'm okay. I'm not fighting aliens, by the way, but I'm still doing it. I'm still okay. And so not having a mentor, because I had to mentor myself, it was watching these strong women actually getting stuff done. Like, she was getting it done on a level that was unparalleled. And I said, okay, I would watch that movie and be like, I was renewed. I'm like, okay, I got this. I got this. So whatever aliens will come my way, they better watch out.
Wow, awesome. I thought you were going to say Terminator, honestly speaking, because that's also like John Connor too. So, aliens is another thing which I never really thought of, and you brought up a great point. So, thank you again for that, Kat. Uh,
Can I do relate to aliens when the aliens coming out of the stomach in the diner scene. Like I can relate to that with
wow.
pregnancy.
What memories do you have, Samara? Yeah. So, thank you again. So, let me ask you this here. Motherhood is one thing, but when was that one time that you felt that your mom was proud of you? That one thing. It could be from elementary to college to and entrepreneurship, or even your first movie, that for that matter, Kalpana. I mean, what are your thoughts on the question? So I'm going to go with Kat first. Kat, what are your thoughts?
Wow, that's a potent question. Um, Going back in the 70s, I was a single parent. I became pregnant at 16. And back in the 70s, it just wasn't cool. Not that it's cool now, but it's more acceptable. And so my parents kept telling me, your life is over. You're not going to make anything of your life. And so I went into the military thinking that would give me that feeling that my parents would be able to say, I'm proud of you. I did not hear those words until I retired from the military. And my parents actually said, I'm proud of you. And that, I had to do 20 years to hear those words. But at that point, you know what? I didn't need the words. It was nice to hear, but I was already proud of myself. And the fact that my parents said it was just the icing on the cake. And sometimes you don't need icing. Sometimes the cake is all you need. So,
Yeah, I think that's true, but I think there is some type of in your heart somewhere. Like I'm not talking you, Kat, in general. Somewhere in everyone's heart, you do want some type of acknowledgement from your parents or from your mom, or even for that matter, even your kids. So that's why I asked that question. So thank you again, Kat, for explaining that. I'm gonna go to Samara, even though her video is out. So Samara, what are your thoughts on?
We'll have to put my photo in there
Oh,
later. So this is a good question. I have to say, because I had such a challenging upbringing as far as with having a learning disability and it not being really um, recognized by the school system for until I was a senior in high school. So when I was graduating from University of Maryland in the College of Journalism, I was a public relations major, and I was president of the Public Relations Student Society of America. But I also, was a PR student. And so at the graduation in the College of Journalism, I received the award for the top public relations student. And then I also received other awards. But what was interesting is during that time, I actually fought for the Grunigs. Laurie and Jim Grunig were two professors, married couple professors at the college, and they wrote the textbooks. I mean, they've been around forever, and their job was in danger. And we actually protested, and I spoke in front of the entire board and saved their jobs, and kept them in the College of Journalism because they were trying to move it over to communications. And so in doing that at the graduation, unbeknownst to me, my name was mentioned by every single person that was at the microphone at the podium. And my parents just kept looking at each other, and they were looking at my brothers, and my husband and I were boyfriend girlfriend at the time, and they're like, who are they talking about? Who is this? Who are they talking about? And it was just Samara Schwartz, and they were in awe by the amount of attention and accolades that I received. So they were incredibly proud because my mom had to fight for me every time there was a standardized test. I was an all A student, and then I would fail standardized exams because of my learning disability, not organizing in a linear manner. And so because of that, it was always a fight So it was pretty exciting for my family to see how far I'd come.
Yeah, thank you so much, Samara. And I think I've heard this story before, and it's a great feeling, isn't it? So thank you again for that. Kalpana, what are your thoughts on this question here?
Um, Again, mine is to do with education. In India, when girls get married, they are not expected to continue their education, especially during my time. And I got married very early before I graduated. So, it was like an accepted thing that I'll drop out, I will not study any further. My husband was very adamant. He said, I don't care, you have to complete it. And my mother seconded him. She told me that I wanted to study when I was a child, and she wasn't allowed to. She was married off very early at the age of some 13 or 14. She wanted to become a doctor. So she said, you are getting a supportive spouse. Why are you saying no? And he supported me to such an extent, okay, that I had always just passed through in all my exams because I hated studying, whether it was my, the 10th grade or the intermediate. So when I was in my final year of college, I put in efforts. My husband used to help me a lot. And for the first time in my life, I passed out in first class with honors. So though my mom didn't come for my graduation, my husband was there. He was, and everybody claps when the initial students go to take their prizes. Later on, nobody does because then there are how many times you're going to keep on clapping. He was the only one who was standing and clapping. And when I told my mom burst out crying.
Hmm.
She said, I can't be prouder of you than I am today because I really never thought that you would do it,
Hmm.
and you've done it, and you topped it. I told mama I also got a scholarship, and though it was a very small sum of money, but I had never won prizes. I used to never win prizes because I was always the laid back student. So I got a prize, and that was in the final year of the studies. Generally in India those days, you did a graduation, you didn't study beyond that. Of course today graduation is not considered a very great thing, but it was like the icing on the cake for her. And so she really cried. After that I went to meet her, and in India we go and touch the feet of our parents. So when I touched her, she hugged me tight, and she again cried, and she's like, do well. I'm very happy and I'm very proud of you.
Hmm.
Yeah, so that is what.
Wow, awesome, awesome. I did not realize that was an issue, and you accomplished that. So thank you again for that. Varija, what are your thoughts on this topic today?
So I think, like most parents, my parents too seek a lot of external validation. The external validation is about the grades and about the prizes, something what Kalpana spoke. And um, most parents, they want, how do they know that their children are good? They either other parents are praising about them or they're doing good with grades. So I wasn't a good student. I wasn't the best during my school days, and I have two brothers who were nothing less than just toppers. So they were all 99 grades, and I was close to about 80. So for me, my mom used to consider me like an average student. So 80 was average for her, and 99 was the best. So I was the black sheep in that sense. Though I thought I was still in top 10 of the class, but that was still average for her. But it was a conscious call. I think that is what sort of made me what I am today. That is not to seek for external validation. I knew that um, studying was a slice of the pizza, but not the entire pizza for me. So I wanted to do extracurriculars. I was part of the debating society. I was part of the table tennis inter school competitions. I was the school captain. She didn't wanted me to become a school captain because if I would have studied less. So I said I want to experience everything in life. I don't want claps from people because I scored a 95 and I've missed out on 20,000 other things that world has to offer to me.
Mm.
And I think it was very difficult for my parents to understand it then. Um, But now, professionally, when I am applauded, and now that, of course, my mom is on social media, so the kind of applauding that I get on the social media for the work that I do across sectors, that's when I'm proud of you has sort of stepped in, because something what Kat said, uh, over a period of time, women like us, we just become tough asses. So we stop seeking for external validation of any sort. So it came in late, but it did come in. But so it's just nice, but we sort of still know that we are the best. So so yes, I don't want like 1,000 people saying that I'm good, and then my parents thinking that I'm good. So I think at some point you just have to sort of give in, and you're your best friend to tell you that you're good or you're right or you're proud of your own self. So I think that's a constant question, and that's the toughest one, because even at work, I keep telling my colleagues, there's a toughest boss that's sitting inside me, and it is so difficult for me to impress my own self. Uh, if I impress my own self, I think I'm God, which I don't think I'll ever be able to. But I think that's the sense of self consciousness that has sort of come in, that any sort of external validation doesn't give you any high except for your own.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Varija, for explaining that. And I'm going to ask this one question to everybody, and then you can unmute yourself, all at the same time if you like. Uh, Father's Day, we also have corny jokes, okay, and father jokes, like really quirky jokes. Is there any quirky Mother's Day jokes that you think that you want to share or you have heard that is really the corniest thing in the world? Let's start with Kat, if you don't mind. Why are you nodding your head? I know you know jokes.
No, because moms are badasses, Girish. You don't know that? There's no corny Mother's Day jokes. People, there might be. I'm not going to say there aren't. I don't know of any,
Mm.
but, moms are the ones who, I don't think they do jokes, but they do things to embarrass their kids. I would act silly in front of my my son and his kid, his friends, or I would say, "Oh, I love you," and give him a kiss, and he's like, "Mom." So I think moms do things to embarrass their kids, not necessarily jokes, but and they do it out of love, not out of embarrassing them. But I can't think of anything, so I'm interested to hear what the other panelists have to
Okay.
say.
Okay. So let's go with Samara. I think she wanted to say something.
I actually, that was an accident, but I do, because it's one of those things where you don't mess with mom. So you don't joke about mom, or you're not getting food.
Exactly.
So don't mess with mom. But if you're in the greeting card aisle on Mother's Day, it's all about the love, affection, mom needing a glass of wine or a bottle, whatever. It's really moms. Many of us make our kids who they are today, but I love what Kapana was saying about how her mom let her make mistakes and let her choose who she should be or wants to be, and that we all make, just like in business, as a business owner, we make expensive mistakes. As a mother, we also make expensive mistakes. Some are cheap, some are expensive, but that's just the nature of the beast. And I think that as moms, we might be a little bit more, go ahead, let's see what happens, how it's going to turn out. And dads, they get a little bit more nervous. I think we're more willing to walk the tightrope a little bit. But so I wouldn't joke about that, Girish, because who knows who's poisoning your food now.
I don't know. Let's see when we when we release this episode. So let's see who poisons who. So thank you again, Varija. You were laughing up there. So what are your thoughts on this question here?
No, I just a conversation that was going a couple of days ago. So I just finished with this fashion show, and I say no to war. And there was this video that I released where I'm talking and narrating about my experience, etc. So I was showing that to my daughter, and she interrupted me in between, and she said, Mama, whenever I see you on YouTube, you're so proper and so poised, and you're talking so calmly. I wish all these people know how you are with us. So, I really want them to know how much you shout at us and how you're constantly hammering us. I was like, no, that's a secret. You shouldn't tell that to anyone. So that's what I was just laughing that, we have so many roles to play.
I know, I know. I've talked to you offline, so I know how you are. So I totally understand what you're saying. Kalpana, what are your thoughts? I mean, you're in the movie industry. You have to be proper, right? And there's no jokes or anything like that. What are your thoughts on that? And I think you've done a lot of videos offline, which I've seen. You have a lot of jokester in you. So what are your thoughts?
I don't know any jokes, but I agree with her that our children want the world to know what we are when we are inside. So at home, when any of the children's friends come, okay, they will tell that. So, everybody will say, "Your mom is so sweet and such a darling," and they will be saying like that. And both the children will look at each other and say, "Don't go on what you see. She's a terrorist." They call me a terrorist to my face. Okay, they call me a Hitler and a terrorist to my face.
Mm.
Okay, and per se, I don't know jokes, but one thing I know that this was also with the dogs which we have at home is a bathroom is not a place where you can go without your children. Literally. So when they are young, they are like, no, mom can't be behind a closed door. She always has to be accessible. Dad can do whatever he wants, but mom always has to be accessible. And the same thing goes for pets. They will otherwise sit outside and whine and all. So you have to. So, being a mom is like that. It's not easy, but I would say it is the highest paying job in the world because the love which you get and which they give you,
Yeah, I think
it cannot surpass anything in this universe. This is what I feel.
Yeah, I think you guys are the richest person in the world by getting all the affection and the love from your kids and the satisfaction that you get from the kids and others too at the same time. And then obviously you raising the kids the way you want them also. Yeah, obviously with other people's help because you're making the kids also. It's and making them grow up and graduate and getting married and all that other fun stuff, which it's exciting. So, guys, thank you again for all you coming here and celebrating Mother's Day. But before you leave, do you have any last words of how you have supported me on Back to Basics and what is Mother's Day for you and what are you going to do special this year for Mother's Day? We'll go with Varija first.
I think it's been a brilliant journey, Girish. I have seen from where Back to Basics started and where it is now, and it's a feeling of pride to be associated with Back to Basics and seen that growth curve. So congratulations to you first on this Mother's Day.
Thank you.
And I think in today's time and age, the most expensive gift that I can give to my children is my time. And I'll take a day off and make sure that every moment is with them without my phone and without any network and connectivity. And they are also off their screens. I think this virtual time and the screen time has really taken away from these small little joys of life. And I don't think I can give anything more expensive than that to them.
Yeah, thank you again. Kat, how about you? What are your thoughts on your last words?
Well, congratulations, Girish. I'm always wanting to support people that I that I like, number one, because you never know when that's going to come back to you.
Mm.
You know, these are the type of things that you just never know what's going to happen. But, you know, when someone's trying to start out, you want someone to be there for you. You want someone to say, yeah, yeah, I'll help you, you know, without wanting anything in return. So I think for Mother's Day, what I do is my son's 47. And so I reminisce about when he was a toddler because that was my favorite time with him. And I look through pictures and I just be good to myself because I never had time to do that as a single parent before. So I enjoy my day. I haven't planned out what I want to do. Maybe it's nothing, maybe it's something, but it's just a me day. It's something that I want to do when I want to do it and how I want to do it.
Yeah,
So
of
congratulations.
course. Thank you. Thank you so much, Kat, for being here and supporting me. Thank you. Kalpana, what are your thoughts on the last comments of today's show?
So, Girish, thanks for inviting me and congratulations and a very happy Mother's Day to everyone. Uh, you are a person whom I met on Clubhouse and I've known you for, I think, what, close to 8, 10 months. And it's been an honor. So, I'm very happy with the way your show is going. Since my children are not with me, I don't know how I'm going to be spending Mother's Day. So while everybody was, just talking and you asked this question, I was wondering what is it that I will do. So I will turn it into a cheat day is what I just decided for myself. All other days I have to keep a watch on what I'm eating. It's going to be my cheat day. Maybe I'll go for a movie on my own and then, eat and do what I feel like to celebrate being a mom because it is very wonderful being a mom.
Yeah,
And I wouldn't change it for anything in this world.
yeah.
So, congratulations to you. And thanks once again for having me on your show.
Kalpana, thank you so much. And just make sure don't watch your own movies, okay? Watch other movies, okay? Thank you. Samara, what are your last comments for the show today?
Well, congratulations, or as we say in my religion, Mazel
Mazel
Tov. So I'm really actually excited to be part of your journey, and I hope we continue to do follow-up episodes because, as you know, my life changes every week, so there's always new material
Yes, we
for
know.
you. I want to wish all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day. It's the hardest job we will ever, ever, ever have. This year is going to be very special to me because this is my first Mother's Day as a single mother. So, Kat, I get you, girl. Um, it's been a really hard year, a really, really hard year. There's times where I didn't have a place, places to go and just kind of trying to figure things out and restarting a company after COVID as an event producer who's owned a company for 13 years and watching it just kind of disappear and then starting over in every single possible way, every way. And so having my kids here and having them, have a place that we can call home together and trying to navigate through a divorce is so hard. And so Mother's Day will be incredibly special. And my parents have been there for me this year more than ever. Not that they weren't there for me always, because they always have been, but they've had to be there for me in more ways as I was living with them during part of this transition time. And so they're still continuing to show up. And my dad is going to be 79 in July. My mom is 74. She'll be 75 in October. And so we will be spending Mother's Day with my mom and my children and my father, and really cherishing those times that we're together, because my mom, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 13 and I'm 46 now. And she had 2 open heart surgeries an hour apart a year ago, which is why I moved to Arizona to be closer to them because they now live here. So spending it with them is going to be important this year. So Thank you. Thank you for having
No,
me.
thank you again, Samara, and all hearts to you of what you are going through and the new journey. I'm pretty sure there will be people around you, including Kat. I hope can guide you in the single motherhood that you are going to be getting into. But God bless or whatever you're doing. You know, thank you all for being here, and thank you all for supporting me on the journey of Back to Basics, and now we're on season 2. So I'm just super excited. I've known each and every one of you in different levels, and you've been so kind and so humble to all you guys to me. So thank you again for the Mother's Day special. But before you guys leave, can you all unmute yourselves and just say Happy Mother's Day to everyone, please, if you don't mind? It will be great.
Happy Mother's Day.
Happy
Mother's
Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you.
Happy
You
Mother's
gotta
Day.
count. You gotta do a 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Happy
Happy
Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day.
Thank you so much, guys. God bless, and keep on supporting me on my journey here. Guys, thank you again for all being here and supporting me
Bye,
on all
everybody.
Mother's Day special. And if you think that this episode is amazing, because I think it is, please tag me on Instagram and Back to Basics and how we have helped you and understand that motherhood is not an easy thing. As usual, as always, there is a quarter a day from Back to Basics, and hopefully all my guests here today will enjoy the quote. And the quote is, "There's no way to be perfect mother, a million ways to be a good one." That is the main thing. Guys, as usual, what do we always say at the end of the episode? Everything in life comes back to basics, and that's what we did today, guys. Guys, today is definitely Mother's Day special. It will be released on Mother's Day weekend. Please, thank you again. God bless, and I will see you next time on Back to Basics.